All right, we are live. Give everyone a couple minutes to hop on here. I'm actually on my Instagram as well as Facebook. So I'm just gonna do some question and answers today, anything regarding phone flipping, reselling. And then I do have some questions from some of the members that asked questions yesterday that I'm gonna be answering tonight too as well. So if you guys could actually do me a big favor, if you are watching this live, put comment live in the chat. If you're watching the replay of this, just comment replay in the chat. The reason I have you guys do that is because Facebook will actually not show all of the members in the group the video unless it gets engagement. So if you guys could do me that quick favor, if you're hopping on, just comment live if you're watching this live, or if you're watching the replay later, just comment replay in the chat. So looks like a bunch of people hopping on here. What's up, Jonathan, Jay, Luke, Juan, Sean, James, Morgan, Frank, Wes? Good to see everyone. All right, so yeah, we just kind of get started here then. It looks like a bunch of people hopping on, a bunch of people on Instagram too as well. Good to see you guys. So anyway, yeah, if you guys don't know who I am, my name is Eric Jacob. I am a full-time eBay reseller. I primarily resell phones and electronics. I do sell some other items too as well, but over 90% of my business is just phones and electronics. So if you guys have any questions while I'm going through this, just comment below and I'll try to get to them whenever I can. Yes, Wes, you are live. Appreciate it, buddy. All right, so I'm just gonna hop right into it. So Mark actually asked a good question yesterday. He said, what phones, or how can you tell what phones work with what carriers? So this is a really good question. So there is a website that will actually tell you what phones are for what carriers. So whenever you're going out and buying phones, the resale value can change depending on what phone carrier it's actually for. So there's a website called SICW.com, and you can do what's called a carrier check on it. It'll actually tell you what the original carrier was for that device. Now, I will say, whenever you are first starting out with phone flipping, you always want to, you don't want to try to go through all the unlocking processes and things like that. That's more advanced. I would worry about that later. Just sell the phone as is. Like if you're buying an AT&T phone, sell it as AT&T bad ESN. And bad ESN just means that there's a chance that that phone could still be financed or it's reported lost or stolen, but we don't buy anything that's reported lost or stolen. That website, SICW, will also tell you if a phone is reported lost, stolen, and it tells you a bunch of other information about it too, the storage size, all that good stuff. So that's a really good tool that I think will help you out, but very good question. You also asked, how do you check the status of a battery? Like if you have a bad battery in a phone. And batteries really aren't that big of an issue. Usually before I meet up with a customer, I can tell if there's some sort of issue with the phone. I also ask them before I meet up, is there any cracks or issues with this device before I meet up, and I make my price that I pay for that device based according to what issues are wrong with it. But if it does end up having a battery that dies a little quicker, you can just disclose that in your eBay listing, or most of the time, even if you sell to direct buyers, they generally don't really care too much about the battery unless it's really bad. But very good question. If you do want to know a way you can check on iPhones, under the settings, you can actually, I don't know how well you guys can see this, but I'll try to do it here. I apologize for you guys on Instagram. I'm live on Facebook too as well at the same time. But if you go to, I don't know if you can see this, it's kind of blurry, battery right here, you can click on battery and then battery health. And down at the top here, you can see the health of the battery. So mine's really bad. So it's 79%, it only functions at 79%. That's one way you can check it, but I don't ever do that. But just in case you wanted to know, that is one way you can check it. But yeah, good question. Matthew had a question. He goes, how do I find good deals? So guys, the way that I find deals when it comes to phone flipping, there's not any real one way that you can find a great deal. So the way that I find the deals is I make posts on places like Facebook groups, like Swap and Shop groups, Letgo, OfferUp, Craigslist is really good. And there's other platforms too. You can post on, you do Facebook paid ads once you get a little bit more advanced. And you basically make posts saying, I buy smartphones, I buy electronics. or whatever types of items that you buy, and people will then actually message you with what you have or what they have for sale. So, whenever you're going through this process, you just want to make sure that you are getting some key information. You make sure that you're getting, what phone model is it, what's the condition, and what carrier is it for. And then you can make an appraisal on that phone and give that person an offer accordingly based off of what they have for sale, right? So yeah, there's not really any one key to finding great deals. Like the more ads you put out there, the more leads you will get. So the more eyes you get on your ads, the more potential opportunity there is to find good deals. But that's how I find deals. I don't bother going to like the thrift stores, the garage sales. I don't go out and source my inventory anymore. I did that for years, and it just wasn't really worth the time when it came down to it, based off of how much effort and everything I was putting in. I would have to drive to like several different locations. So when you run a business like this, it's a complete different business model than what the average reseller does. And it saves you a lot of time because you have people come to you and basically you just respond to leads all day whenever you get a chance. So the more leads you get, the more opportunity you have to get great deals. But yeah, great question. It looks like a bunch of other people hopping on here. Hey, Philip, Rebecca, John, Ryan, Chris, Gary, good to see you guys. So hopefully that helps you out. And then the last thing that I wanted to cover was Lori had kind of a general question. So I'm just going to kind of give you some tips, but you had a question about closing deals. So Lori's done a great job. She started placing those ads that I was talking about, saying I buy phones, I buy electronics, and some Facebook groups. I'm not sure if you posted in other areas too as well, but now she's getting all these people messaging her with phones for sale, and she's appraising them, and she's saying I can give you X amount for your phone, but now people aren't really taking my offers. So how do you make it so people go from saying no to your offers that you make to making them a possible yes? So this is something that every phone flipper will come across. That's going to be something that you're going to have to deal with, because the biggest thing is, and this is my first tip. I have kind of 3 tips when it comes to negotiation. My first tip is put yourself in the mindset of that person that is selling that device to you, right? So, probably like a year and a half ago, say they're selling you an iPhone 10, right? Or iPhone 10s, and you can sell that phone for $400. So you make your offer at $200. The person that actually has that phone for sale, he probably paid, or she probably paid, $800, $900, $1,000 for that phone just a year or a year and a half ago. So a lot of people will cut you off almost right away and tell you no thanks and just move on, because in their mind they're like, this is $1,000 phone. I paid $1,000 for this. But the biggest thing, so that's the biggest tip I have for you guys, is understand where they're coming from. And my second tip is to basically empathize with them. And when you empathize with someone, you create likability. And the more that someone likes you, then the more likely they are to actually sell you that device for the price that you want to buy it for. All you have to do is if someone says no thanks, bye, or whatever, like they're kind of rude about it. All you have, like, this is a key line I'm going to share with you guys. Anytime someone says no in a negotiation, no worries, I totally understand. How much were you looking to get for it? So that's a gold nugget in negotiation. If someone says no thanks, I'll pass. No worries, I totally understand. How much were you looking to get for it? What I'm doing there is I'm addressing them. I'm saying no worries, I totally understand. I get it. You paid this. You paid a lot for this phone. How much were you looking to get for it? So I'm keeping them in the conversation. I'm letting them know that hey, I get where you're coming from. So that is the second tip, is likability. And if they come back, well, I was wanting to get $500 for that phone. Oh, I gotcha. Unfortunately, I can't even sell them for that price anymore with the new iPhone 11s coming out. But I mean, I could do the 200 and get you cash today. Would that work for you? So I'm breaking it down again. I understand. Unfortunately, I can't even sell that phone for that price anymore. So, as much as I would love to give you that price for it, the phones have been dropping a lot in price since then. So, I can give you the 200 though and make it a smooth, easy transaction for you. Would that work for you? And I'm ending it in a closing question. Would that work for you? So you're making it so they have a yes or no answer. So maybe they say no again. You just kind of keep repeating that. You say, they say no again, or can you do any more than 200? Well, now you can start asking them different questions like, is it a 64 gigabyte or a 256 gigabyte phone? And if they say it's 256, then maybe you can come up a little bit in your price. Or maybe if they're like, well, could you do 250? Then you're kind of, you're at 200, they're at 250. Now you found some common ground with them, and it made it so they showed that they have interest in selling that device to you. They're still working with you. So you can keep keeping that conversation going along, and just keep kind of coming from that understanding point of, I definitely understand you want to get the most that you can for your phone. And there's all kinds of other tactics you can use, but keeping the customer in the conversation, that's my third tip is, the more they can talk to you, the more they can see that hey, you're a serious buyer. You can give them cash, fast cash today. They don't have to worry about listing it on their own, selling it on eBay, or meeting up with someone in person that's sketchy or whatever it might be. You're providing that quick, easy service for them. So you want to leverage that. People don't always sell to you people always sell to me because I have the best price. People sell to me because they like, they like me, or maybe they sold to me before and they know I'm trustworthy. I've had people sell to me when I offered less than competition did. And I know some of my competition that does outpay me on some devices, and they still came to me because I built that rapport and that likability. So guys, that's a huge, huge tip, just to keep people in the conversation. So I hope that helps you out, Lori. If you're not watching this, I'll tag you guys, everyone that asked the questions, just in case you weren't able to hop on this live chat. But yeah, that's another key tip, is just keeping people in that conversation. So I hope that helps you guys out. To recap on that, the 3 tips: put yourself in the mindset of that customer. So understand if someone gets mad at you when you make an offer, that's perfectly normal. I mean, I would be kind of mad if I didn't know anything about phone flipping, or I didn't know anything about the value of phones, and I just paid $1,000 for something, and a year later I'm being offered $200 for it. That would probably upset me if I didn't know anything about the phone. So you kind of got to empathize with them. But that's my first tip. Put yourself in the mindset of the customer. So understand that they could be reactionary to your offer that you make them. Second step is create that likability factor. Empathize with them. I totally understand. Unfortunately, I can't pay that price because I can't sell it for that. But what I can do for you is I can do the 200 cash, and I can make it a smooth, easy transaction for you. Would that work? And I'm ending it with a closing question. And then keep the customer in the conversation. Just keep doing that. The more you can talk to someone, the more likely they are to sell you that device. So hope that helps out. Oh, awesome, Laura, you are watching. Good to see you. All right. And then, yeah, if you guys have any other questions, looks like there's quite a few people. Got some people on Instagram here. Got some people on Facebook. I'm going to be on here for a little bit longer. I do have a potential late deal that I'm going to do. I normally don't meet up late at night, but this is a pretty good profit deal that I have coming up here. It's like $250 or $300 profit. So I may have to hop off of here shortly. This guy's supposed to text me here soon. But if you guys have any questions, let me know. I do have one more question. Adam asked, is there a step-by-step process to getting started? And the answer to that question is definitely yes. The biggest thing is, you can understand every single step in this process on everything to do, but the best thing to do whenever you're looking to get into phone flipping is just to take like $50 or $100 that, you're okay with losing. Now, we're not planning on you losing it, but you need to be okay with like, hey, this is fun money. This is something I'm just going to experiment with. And just to get that first deal under wraps. Because if you can actually just take action and get started with it, then you're going to have some learning experiences along the way, and you definitely do want to watch the videos, but that's the best way just to get started, because you can watch all the videos. I have a free mini course you guys can watch. If you click the link of this video, it'll take you to a page with all the links. It has Dave's paid course in there. It has the mini course in there, which is completely free. and that will walk you by step on what to do. But the biggest thing is just to get started. So, watch a couple videos so that you have the overall gist of the business, and then just get started with it. Start placing ads, start posting in Facebook groups, start posting in Marketplace. I buy smartphones, I buy electronics, and just see what you get. And, if you can appraise items correctly, I know a lot of people in this group have already been resellers. So you guys are already expert appraisals. So, if you watch my video on how to appraise phones, then you have a huge head start because you already know how to appraise an item, and you just make an offer based off of what model phone they have for sale, essentially. But that's the best way to get started. You can watch the mini course and just go step by step, and I'll show you the whole process from start to finish. Or, the biggest thing is just to do it. I remember I was so scared to do my first deal, but now that I've done that one, I got a little bit more comfortable. I learned a little bit. And then, then I did another one, and then I felt even more comfortable. Then I did another one. Now I've done hundreds, if not thousands of deals, and I don't even think about, being nervous meeting up with someone or anything like that. So it just becomes a habit. The more you do something, the more comfortable you are with it. See, Wes says, what are you buying? It's I'm buying 2 iPhone 7s that are 32 gig, an iPhone 7 that's 128 gig, and an iPhone 8 that's 64 gig. And I think I'm buying them all for either 200 or 250. I'll have to look it up. But they're all in perfect condition, and they might even be paid off. So I'm pretty stoked about that. Should be a nice profit. Didn't know you were going to be on. Oh, really? Sorry. Let's see. Jay says, what brand light boxes are those? I think they are Umbrella Studio lights. They're actually really cheap. I actually have a link to those too in the Linktree link in this video. If you click on the Linktree link, there should be a thing that says reseller equipment, and I have them linked there. But they're super cheap. I think they're I can't remember how much they were, but I want to say they're under $40, but they're super bright. And then the paper that you see is actually photography paper. So it actually reflects the light. So it makes your images pop a little bit more if you sell on eBay. So that's, it might get you a little bit more money if you have really good clear pictures. Not much more, but it just makes the listing look a lot more presentable. But yeah, they're great purchases. I actually have 2 sets of them. And I use them, every time I do listings. But I also have I actually have a video on my YouTube channel too, where I walk you through all the equipment I use in my reseller business. So I show what printer do I use? How do I store my inventory? My lighting setup, all that good stuff. So that's all on my YouTube channel. I'm gonna scroll through Instagram here real quick and see if I have any questions on here. Oh, wow. Sorry, I missed a bunch of them. All right. Jason has a question. Oh, hey, Al. Good to see you. Jason says, how long have you been flipping phones? So, Jason, I've been flipping phones for, I went full-time in May of last year. So what is that? May, June, July, August. And then I probably flipped for a month or 2 before that. So probably a year and a half. Year and a half is how long I've been flipping phones, and then full-time a year and 4 months. Wow, that's crazy to think that I've been doing this full-time for a year and 4 months. But yeah, no, it's been an awesome experience. I used to work at I used to actually work at AT&T in the sales department, and it wasn't a very enjoyable job for me. I didn't really like what I did. I didn't really wake up excited about what I did. So I was kind of looking for something that I could work my own hours and kind of create as much income that I wanted based off of how hard I worked towards it. And I just didn't have that at that job. So reselling was perfect for that, because I can scale this business to pretty much whatever I want based off of, the effort I put in, how much I want to work, and have the flexibility with the hours. So yeah, so about a year and a half anyway. Let's see. What do you use to gauge the value of the phones? There's another question from Jason. So yeah, that's a good question. So there's a couple different ways that I do it. The easiest way to do it is just to appraise the item on eBay. So you can look up sold comps on eBay that will show you exactly how much that model phone goes for. So whenever I go and I place those ads and people contact me with what they have for sale, I'm trying to figure out as fast as possible 3 key things, and then I make them an offer. Sometimes I just find out 2 key things and then I make them an offer. But the things that you have to figure out is, what is the exact phone model that you have for sale? Because if someone says, I have an iPhone for sale, that's just super vague. You know, I might not buy your iPhone at all, or your iPhone might be worth $500. I'm not sure. I have to figure out the exact phone model that you have for sale. So I have an iPhone 8 Plus for sale, 64 gigabyte or whatever. So you want to figure out the exact model phone, and then you want to figure out the condition of it. Is there a cracked screen, even if it's like a little tiny hairline crack? Is there any issues with the phone? Is it iCloud locked? Like, you have to figure out all that information before you make an offer. So, and usually I can summarize that just by saying, you know, say, hey, I have an iPhone 8 for sale. Awesome. Is there any cracks or issues with it? No cracks or issues. Awesome. What phone carrier is it for? It's for Verizon. Cool. I can do X amount of money for it. And you just basically, you look up sold completed listings on eBay, or you can look at a direct buyers list too, which is really fast. So like, I post EasyTech's buyer, they're a direct buyer. So I post their price list in here. You can look and be like, oh, EasyTech pays $200 for that phone. Well, I can give you $100 for it. And that's a quick way to kind of do like a quick appraisal. But I would definitely suggest doing eBay. That's going to give you a more like accurate pricing for what you can really pay for it. But I have a video in the mini course too as well on how to appraise phones. So that's like the biggest thing about phones, is you don't want to overpay for stuff. So you really have to understand how to appraise a phone correctly. If someone says they have an iPhone 8 Plus for sale and it's for T-Mobile, you can't just type in iPhone 8 Plus T-Mobile and look for sold completed listings, because the odds are is that that phone is probably still financed. Most phones people finance now. They put it on a 24-month payment plan or a 30-month payment plan. Some people pay them off, but you can't rely on that being the case. So I always appraise everything as bad ESN. And all bad ESN means is that the phone is still financed. So I just assume that. So whenever I appraise an item on eBay, I'm going to type in iPhone 8 Plus, T-Mobile, bad ESN, and then I'll do the appraisal and make the offer. So I'll find at least 3 completed listings within the last, preferably last 2 weeks, but the most last 30 days. And I'll make an offer based off of the average sale price of what that item's selling for, to where I can still make a good profit on it. So typically I like to hover around 40 to 60% margins. But you know, for certain phones, you do have to drop a little bit lower than that so that people will actually accept your offers. But that's what I like to stick around. You know, 40% margin is usually what I average. But you got to kind of figure that out with how you want to run your phone flipping business. There's people that are super successful that only operate on 50+% margins. There's also people super successful that just do huge volume, but they operate on 15 to 20% margins. So I found my sweet spot right around that 40% is what I like to operate on. But yeah, very good question. That's the number one thing that can burn you in this business, is not appraising a device correctly. So I actually, when I first started phone flipping, I would do appraisal drills. I would sit down and I'd pretend someone called me on the phone and said, hey, I have an iPhone 8 Plus for sale. How much can you give me for it? And then I would make up another, and I'd look that one up and see how much I could give. And then I would pretend that someone else called me and said, hey, I have an iPhone 6 for sale. It's cracked. How much can you give me for it? And I'd look that one up, and I would see how fast I could get at appraisal drills. But yeah, very good question. All right. Three Kings Closet says, how can I get started, bro? Best way to get started, man, is just check out my YouTube channel. I show basically step-by-step how to get started with everything. It's a phone flipping mini course. If you click on the Linktree link, that will get you all set up on how to get started. Yeah, Jason, definitely appreciate you watching. Yes, I use eBay to gauge the price. All right, let's flip back up to Facebook here for a little bit, see if you guys have any other questions here. Right. Yeah, Wes, I hope they're paid off. We'll see whenever I get him. He said he switched carriers, so his whole family switched to another carrier, but they are a little bit older phones, so hopefully they're paid off and I can make a little extra money on those. See, Casey says, did my first phone call appraisal today. Always feels good to take a leap. Yeah, I mean, phone calls are more nerve-wracking because you're actually talking to the person live. But whenever you get really good at phone calls, your closing percentage will go way up. Because, on a text message, when you make an offer, it's easy for someone just not to respond, like, oh, no thanks. But on a phone call, like, you're on the phone with them. So most people won't just hang up on you. They'll tell you no. And that gives you a chance to do those 3 steps, right? Like, understand where they're coming from, create that likability factor, empathize with them, and then, keep them in the conversation. And on the phone, it's much more effective than it is through text. Now, I do most of my negotiation through text because even I don't like to be on the phone a lot for my negotiations. But, if I'm on the phone, I have a way higher closing percentage than if I'm texting, because when you're on the phone, you can basically just keep them in the conversation. Like, oh no, man, I'll think about it. No worries, man. How much were you looking to get for that device? Well, I was looking to get 500. And I kind of like pause and I make them like sit there like, unfortunately, I can't do 500 on it. I actually can't even sell them for that much anymore with, all the new iPhones coming out. But, I could do the 200 and get you cash today. Would that work for you? And then they're like, oh, now they're more likely to take your offer because you're like, now in their head, they're like, oh, wait, he can't even sell them for this. Now, not everyone's going to be like that, but you'll close a larger percentage over the phone for sure. So. Yeah, just like Wes says, it's almost harder to close not over the phone. All right, guys. Let's see. Jason says, what's some of the issue? Oh, sorry. You said how long you've been flipping phones. So I don't know if you heard me earlier. I've been flipping phones for about almost a year and a half. And he says, what's some of the issues to look for when purchasing phones? So good question. So like I said, during the negotiation process, I'm always figuring out like, hey, is there any issues with this device before I meet up with them? And I make my appraisal based off of what they told me. So if I show up and I inspect the device, I just do a quick look. It's not like a long check. Like I'll look at the phone, look at the back, look at the front, make sure there's no cracks or anything. I'll make sure that the screen works. Biggest thing is I make sure it's logged out of the iCloud and I do a factory reset on the phone. But other than that, I don't really do a whole lot. Maybe I might test the speaker or something, but not very often. Most of the time, people are pretty transparent and honest with you. They're signing a bill of sale stating that it's in the condition that they described and everything. So basically, it's just a quick 10, 15-second search that I do. If the phone is not in the condition that they said it was, then when I meet up with them, I have to adjust my price because, in this business, we're in this business so that we can make money and, operate on a good, healthy margin. So whenever you meet up with someone, if there's a little tiny hairline crack or if it's super scratched up, then you need to lower the price of what you can pay for that phone. So that's why getting really good at appraisals fast is key to this business. Because say, you were going to meet up with someone for a phone that you agreed upon a price of $200, but then there's a little crack across the screen and they didn't tell you about that. Well, then you need to get on your little eBay app, look up that phone in the cracked condition and adjust your price. And all I do to the customer, whenever, something like that happens, because it does happen from time to time, is you basically say, hey, I don't know if you noticed, there actually is a little, crack right here on the screen. So unfortunately, that does affect the price a little bit. So let me look it up here real quick and see what I can still do for you. Looks like on that phone, with it having a cracked screen, I can do $120 for you. Would that work for you with it being cracked? And then usually they're fine with it. I only actually, in the whole year and a half from me adjusting the price, because they showed up with that phone in a different condition than what we negotiated, I've only ever had one person not sell me their device. Sometimes they'll negotiate a little bit, be like, oh man, well, can you do like 150? And then, maybe we'll settle on 130 or 140 or something like that. But I've only ever had one person that brought me a phone that wasn't in the condition as described, not sell me the phone when I lowered the price. So don't be afraid to adjust the price, because you have to do that to make enough profit or to protect your margins in this business so that you're profitable on that item. But yeah, very good question. Let's see here. Are most of your purchases local or are they shipped? So when I buy the phones, it's always local. I don't do like any mail-ins or anything yet. So I always meet people at like a safe public location. And I basically, I bring my bill of sale and I have them sign the bill of sale, give me their ID. And basically I just meet up with them locally. Now, when I sell the phone, I don't ever sell locally. I don't tend to like selling anything locally just because it's time consuming. People can stand you up. You have, God forbid if you ever got robbed or something. Like, I just don't like selling stuff local. But, I sell everything online. So I sell on eBay and then I sell to direct buyers. And I provide both of those. I provide the direct buyers in my Facebook group. If you guys ever want to sell to a direct buyer, I have a really good, trustworthy one that I've been working with for a long time. That helps you avoid the whole process of listing on eBay, but eBay tends to give you the best value for your devices. So I'd usually recommend for most devices to list it on eBay if you have the time. If you're just wanting to like cycle your cash quick and you have PayPal holds or something like that, or you're just on a time crunch, you just want to flip your capital quick and get it back, then sell to direct buyers. But it's really a matter of personal preference. I kind of do like half and half depending on the item that I have. Some items direct buyers pay really well for. Some items are just better to sell on eBay because eBay tends to bring the top dollar. Let's see. Anna Marie says, what if the phone is defective, like water damage? So on water damaged devices, anything that's like really damaged, like if it's water damaged or if it's like super smashed, like someone ran it over with their car, I do actually still buy those devices. And a lot of those types of phones you can make a lot of money on, but it tends to only be on like the newest devices. So like if someone has an iPhone XS Max and it's water damaged or it's like super smashed up, people like they don't really value that phone very much most of the time from what I found. So you can usually get those phones for like super cheap. I mean, I've bought I've bought like iPhone XRs for like $20 that are super smashed up, and I sell them for $80, $90, $100. So you can make really good margins on those. Actually, one of my best deals I got was a MacBook that was water damaged. Didn't turn on at all. It was just complete trash. But it was like a little bit newer of a model. It was like 2015 or 2016. And I actually resold it for like over $200. So you can make really good margins on those damaged devices, and people are happy to take the money because it's literally just a paperweight to them. It has no value to them whatsoever. So you can get those items super cheap on cracked and damaged and water damaged devices. Sometimes I make upwards of 80-90% margins on those. So yeah, you can make a lot of money flipping like cracked and damaged devices. Let's see here. Jonathan says, how much are your profits monthly in the business now? So on average, I do over $10,000 in sales. In this business, your sales can fluctuate a little bit. So my sales are a little bit lower this month just because all the prices dropped a little bit and I haven't been hitting it as hard. But typically I average about 12 to 15,000 is usually what I do in sales per month. And my margins are typically 40, 50% on average. So, I was from basically this whole entire year, I've been averaging about $5,000 to $7,000 net profit most months. So I don't know if that answers your question. This month, I would have to look it up. I'm not even sure where I'm at this month in sales, but I should have hit 10,000 this month. Most months I had over 10,000. So not sure if that answers your question or not, or if you had want any more clarification on that. Yeah, Anna Marie, you bet. All right. Do you guys have any other questions? I'm probably going to hop off of here pretty soon. I'm probably going to shoot this guy a text, actually, because I might have to meet up with him tomorrow. But we'll see where he's at. But yeah, do you guys have any other questions? I'm happy to answer any other questions you guys may have. Let's see. Wes says, Eric, do you remember helping me negotiate that busted XR when I first started? Got it for 10 bucks, flipped it for 190. I do remember that. I was like, dude, lowball him. Like, I remember you were like, 10 bucks? Are you sure? I was like, yes, do it. But yeah, damaged devices are amazing. It's like a gold mine that a lot of phone flippers don't even bother with. Like, I have competition in my area, and if you tell them that you have a damaged phone, they're like, oh, no thanks. Like, they don't want to deal with it. Now, not all of them, but a lot of people just don't want to damage or deal with damaged devices, because in their mind, it's still not worth anything either. But if you look up like sold listings for damaged devices, like if you go to eBay right now and you go to sold completed listings, so you type in iPhone XS Max, cracked LCD or water damage, like they still sell for a decent price. So you can really make up a lot of your margins with cracked devices. Let's see. Okay, on Instagram, I have a question. What's the percent of returned items? So the great thing about selling phones is you get limited returns when you do it right. So if you sell a phone on eBay, if you do it the way I do it, where you sell the phone as bad ESN, you very rarely get returns, because the people that purchase bad ESN phones tend to be wholesalers, tend to be, international sellers. When you sell a phone as bad ESN, you're selling it for parts only. Because if you put bad ESN in the title, you have to sell that phone as parts only, even if it powers on and everything. But most people that buy those types of phones, you don't get too many returns on. Or if you sell to direct buyers, they don't return phones to you as long as you ship it in the condition that you described to them. So there's not too many returns. You do get some every once in a while. Maybe I might get like one a month. That might not even, I probably don't even get one a month anymore. But, if you're doing like large volume, you'll get some returns. But honestly, you get less returns than you do if you were to sell things like clothing or shoes. Like, I used to sell that kind of stuff, and I would get like 5-10 returns in a month selling large volume of like clothes and shoes. But phones, you get very little returns on them. But yeah, good question. Let's see. Nate says, do you flip camera equipment? Absolutely. I just sold a DSLR camera. I bought 2 DSLR cameras. They're both Sony's. I paid $80 for both of them because the guy didn't have a charger to them. And he told me that they worked, but obviously I can't just trust and assume that they work. But so I just bought them as parts only, and it ended up that both of them worked fine. I sold one for $160, and then I have the other one listed right now for like $170. So that was a really good flip. That was just like, 5 or 6 days ago. But yeah, camera equipment's great. I mean, guys, honestly, any small electronics are great to flip. Like, phones are what I flip the most of. Phones, my bread and butter items, if you will, that I get basically on a daily basis. But guys, I flip all kinds of stuff. Like the thing that I have over here that I'm about to take a picture of. Oh, sorry, I just put my head right in front of it. I don't know if you can see it. That thing right there. That's a CB radio. I flipped a bunch of those. iPads, MacBooks, laptops, anything that's like small, lightweight, has a high value, and is easy to ship. Like, that's the types of items that I focus on. And, when you make those posts, I buy smartphones, I buy electronics, you're going to have a lot of people that message you with like all kinds of random stuff for sale. I buy microphones, I buy graphing calculators, I buy AirPods, I buy Beats, I buy, anything that's a small high-end electronic that I can make a good profit on, preferably, $50 or more per item, then I'll generally buy it as long as it meets that criteria and I can sell it quick. But yeah, absolutely. I mean, camera equipment is phenomenal. Says, do you have a buyer for damaged items not on eBay? Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's for damaged phones, not so much a lot of other items. But yeah, there's a company called Easy Tech, Easy Tech. A guy named Josh runs it, and they're super trustworthy. It's just a grade. If it's depending on what level of damage, they have like grade A, B, C, and D, and you can mail in devices to them and they have like, descriptions of what each condition is. And I think their link's actually in that Linktree link as well. If you want to click on that, it has their whole price sheet, and they explain everything on there. I also have a video on my YouTube channel about how to sell to direct buyers, if you want to check that out. How do you ensure items get delivered? Do you purchase insurance for your devices, or like pay to have signature upon arrivals for delivery? So I never do insurance, or I've done insurance on like maybe 1 or 2 items, but for the most part, I don't bother with insurance. I package it really well if it's a like super expensive item. Generally with with phones, the great thing about phones, guys, is you can mail them super cheap. You can mail them first class mail. So what I do is I just get some bubble wrap and I wrap that around the phone, and then I put it in a poly bag like this. So if you put enough bubble wrap around the phone and then you stuff it in one of these poly bags, I have not had a single phone show up that ended up being cracked or damaged. Knock on wood, but I haven't had any issues. Most of the phone flippers I know that package stuff this way, like they might get 1 damaged item a year. So it's not often that it ends up being damaged. If it's like a super nice phone, like maybe I'm shipping an XS Max or something like that, then I'll maybe put it in like a little small box and put bubble wrap around it. But for the most part, guys, these bubble mailers work great. As long as you wrap the phone with bubble wrap on the inside of this, you should be good. Says, I'm just scared of shady people not receiving phones. So yeah, I mean, you do have to worry about that a little bit, but eBay's gotten a lot better with dealing with that kind of stuff. And they'll put strikes on those people's accounts if they do try to pull that stunt too many times. So I always require immediate pay on my eBay listings. And then, I don't ship international with phones just because the return process on that can be a huge pain in the butt. So I just ship to United States only. And it really, honestly, I don't want to just try to glorify phone flipping, but I don't get a lot of returns. It's very rare when I get a return. All right, guys. Let's see. Oh, Olivia has a question here. So do you buy cracked phones and then fix them? Sorry, I just got on here. So no, that's a really good question. I actually have a lot of people ask me that question. I wish I was actually I could repair phones, but I don't actually know how to do that. I'm not super tech savvy. I just know the basics about phones. You don't have to know a lot to know how to flip them. But short answer, no, I don't repair anything. I just buy and sell as is. If you watch the replay, Olivia, I actually went over how damaged devices are some of the highest profitable items that you can buy. So you can buy those for super cheap because people don't have a good perceived value of those damaged devices. So you can buy a phone that's damaged for $10-20 and you can flip it for over 100 a lot of the time. So but no, very good question. But no, I don't bother with any fixing. If you are gonna do phone repairs, I wouldn't even recommend doing it on the phones that you resell, because the prices that direct buyers give and the prices that eBay pays, it's not that much different from a cracked phone to a fully functioning phone that has no damage. On certain models, it does affect it more than others, but for the most part, it's not going to affect the value that much. And it's usually not worth the time to buy the screen, put it on, and repair it, because your cost of goods and your time doesn't really make up for the little bit of extra money you get for it. So I just buy and sell everything as is, and it works out great. All right, guys. So I've been on here for almost 45 minutes, so I think I'm gonna hop off of here. But yeah, if you guys ever have any questions or anything, don't hesitate to comment in the Facebook group. If you're watching on Instagram, I have a link for the Facebook group below. I do live chats like this frequently on the Facebook group, or I try to. I'm going to try to do it more frequently anyway. But yeah, if you guys want to join the Facebook group, definitely click here and join. It's the best way to get your question answered is by commenting in the group. And the reason I like to do it that way rather than you guys message me is so that other people in the group can learn, because a lot of people have the same questions when it comes to phone flipping. So, if I can answer that question for you, then it's answering, and other people see that, then I'm answering that question for multiple people, and we're helping out the whole community. So that's why I built this whole Facebook group, is because, until I found David Kosciuszko's course, like I didn't really have any kind of guidance or mentorship with how to do this. So I wanted to create a way that like the newest person that gets into phone flipping, or the newest, even just general reselling, can get good, accurate information from like a good community that helps out people. So, that's why I try to keep everything as interactive as possible in the group. So yeah, if you guys ever have questions, comment in the group. That's the best way to help out everyone in the group. But yeah, I don't know where I was going with that. But all right, guys, I'm going to hop off of here. If you guys want to check out the mini course, just click the link in the video description. I'll have, or if you're watching on Instagram, check it out in the Instagram bio. But that will walk you through step by step on like the whole process to, how do I get the phones? How do I, meet up with the people in person? How do I appraise the phones to know how much to pay for it? How do I package the phones? How do I ship the phones? It'll cover all that from start to finish. And then if you guys want more advanced training, Dave's course, which is the course that taught me pretty much everything I know about phone flipping, that link for his course will also be in that link as well. So with that being said, guys, I hope you guys are crushing it in your sales. The iPhone 11 drops in 2 days. So there should be some good opportunities with buying phones here soon, because a lot of people are going to be upgrading to that new phone. So you're going to have a lot of people that are going to have their iPhone 10s for sale, their iPhone 8s for sale, and you can make some pretty good profit on those devices. So with that being said, I'll catch everyone later, and have a good one.